beginning, and I look back and oh, hey, how's it going, everybody? I was just putting the finishing touches on this video you're about to see, and this is a cool one. This is a real-time recording of a 1-hour Procreate consultation I had with Mike Sciarra. He's an architect and founder of his own 20-person architecture firm, and he has a very interesting way of using Procreate. In the first few minutes of this video, we talk about the moment Mike knew when he wanted to be an architect. Then I ask him for his opinion on the biggest obstacles holding young architects back. So we finished the session with a live demonstration of coloring a black and white illustration. I really hope you enjoy this peek into the life of a successful architect who uses Procreate every day. And I would love to hear about your stories in the comments section below. Yeah, man. Mike, hey, how you doing?
Awesome. How are you?
Awesome. At some point, I wanted to ask you some questions to get to know you and know what you're after. What is your profession as it relates to learning Procreate?
Well, I'm an architect. So I'm a registered architect.
Why did you become an architect? Like, what forces came together to make
it's a very interesting question. I never wanted to be an architect. When I graduated high school, I started out in construction. So I had a real love of, building. But I decided to go back to school to, take some courses in structural engineering because I was very good with numbers. And I'm not kidding. I sitting at my computer, 20 years ago, or even longer, and a light bulb went off in my head and said, you need to be an architect. I didn't know anything really too much about the profession. And I mean, I knew it involved, making things in houses, and I've been building really high-end houses for the past, 5 years at that point. So that's how I became an architect. I went to school in DC. I went to Catholic University, and that's where I found my love of drawing. I mean, I really never drew anything until I went to college. Okay. And I think I really was gravitated towards drawing because I needed to be able to communicate ideas. And I couldn't do that, so it was very frustrating to me, my first year or so because I couldn't draw. So, I really had to, I became obsessed with drawing, drawing after drawing after drawing. And, here I am, 20 years later, and I still do pretty much, everything by hand up until this point.
Wow, that's a great origin story. And also, for you to have learned drawing so late, right?
I never did any drawing until I got to college.
When did you learn about Procreate and think to yourself like, ooh, that's cool. That's going to help me take it?
Like 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago.
Are you serious?
I'm totally serious. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Came across your website, with Procreate, and I think some of the tools in there, like the perspective tool, is phenomenal for me because that's how I always start design. I never start with a floor plan ever. I've never, in the 20 years I've been in practice, or in school, and I've never ever started with a floor plan. I always start with a visionary sketch, and then I extrude, sort of the plans from there.
Old school perspective, right?
I basically start with a hand sketch, and I'll find my vanishing points, and then I'll put these pins down and hardline it just so it looks more presentable.
In other words, you'll start with freehand, and you've got enough experience. You'll kind of know, like, okay, there's a slight vanishing point over there, and then there's one back.
Oh there. Yeah, I mean, I could draw hand perspectives, so I could do 10 of them in 10 minutes. So Procreate, it's phenomenal for me because I don't have to deal with these slide rules, and I can also stretch out the vanishing points farther, so I can make bigger looking buildings and things like that. The more I use this, the more I think I wish I had done this 5 years ago. That's what I was saying.
What are the 3 biggest mistakes you see young architects around you making that hold them back from, success?
That's a great question. I think number one is you have to get more experience in how things are put together. That is rule number. I would never be the architect I am today if I didn't have extensive construction experience on all different building typologies, whether it's residential, commercial, churches, whatever you want to call it, once you have an understanding of construction methods and geometry, you can really, I think a lot of architects that could be so much better if they understood what they were drawing. Again, my own process is, I have a strange design. I will draw perspectives and then I zoom right into a full blown wall section because I'm trying to understand heights and getting way more technical. And being able to, since I'm do everything by hand, I'm so much fast. People don't understand, how do you do that so fast? I said, because I know how it goes together.
Yeah.
If I have to sit there in CAD or Revit and start thinking about, how to put something together, you'd be there forever. Because every time you input something, you're going to lose a train of thought and back and forth. So I can make the analogy to a calculator. If you could do numbers in your head, isn't that a lot faster than taking out a calculator and then punching in the number? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with drawing. If you can draw, something and you don't really have to think too much about it, you kind of just get it down and it's fairly precise. That's a lot faster than using a computer.
So you mentioned coloring. You're interested in coloring?
Yes, because one of the things I love about your drawings is watercolor. And I had done a lot of watercolors, but never to the extent that what you've done it on a professional level, where you're actually using it for clients. I did it with, other stuff. I'm strictly a, ink guy right now, black and white. I did, I would color renderings, very lightly with Prismacolors. So again, I'm jumping into this new means of communication. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think your drawings I would love to be able to do some of that stuff, even if it's on small stuff.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be really excited because there's so much you can do short of needing any kind of specialized, talent or anything. Okay. So I'm going to go to the paintbrush icon and I'm going to the flat brush. Okay.
Okay.
And the first technique we're going to use here is what I call a totally freehand.
Okay.
Right? So no, because the two basic techniques are freehand coloring and what I call select and fill coloring. Okay. Okay. And select and fill we'll do second, but freehand is literally like having a colored pencil in your hand.
Okay.
In this case, markers, right? So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to come in and do a sky first. And
you always start with a sky, James?
Not necessarily, but it's sometimes the easiest to do, and it gets me because I love to procrastinate, and so I looked for the easiest way to get into something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now in this example, I've already got this this sort of pencil sky here, but I just I've got this. So
that's your flat brush, right?
See, yeah. So you can see this, and I'm going to come in. I picked a blue.
Okay.
And in this case, I'm going to sort of come in there. And this brush, you can see I'm about this size.
Yep.
And I'm going to just show you. Watching this cloud here. You see how it kind of like randomly generates these shapes.
Yeah.
Like if I just touch it down, it does that all on its own, right?
Yeah.
So what you do, you just kind of learn, you're going to be good at this. You just kind of learn to get a feel for that. So then, like right now, I'm using that to randomly help generate these cloud shapes, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to make the brush small, and I'm going to come down here and just sort of show this distant sky over the Long Island Sound, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then I'm going to come up into the menu. Oh, see what I did? I blew it. So it's fast enough to do, but I should have like right away created a new layer. So I'll do that now, and I'll quickly throw this back on, and it'll go fast. And also the other thing that I do, Mike, is I don't worry if something goes over a line yet, because a lot of this is created. Again, these tools are you use them to organically help you. Like you use the fact that the brush creates these jaggy, random things that you can't control, but you use that to your advantage. So I'll come back in, and here I'm in the eraser mode, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go here and I'll pick the same flat brush, and I can come back again, starting at the top left here. I can come back into that blue area
I
with
see.
the eraser, right? And so this really is the fastest way freehand. But the other important thing here too, and this comes from Photoshop, is you see how I'm making more believable cloud shapes now?
Yep.
Okay. So, and maybe I'll put in a little touch of, sky comes through there. But
Yep.
the big thing here is to go into multiply mode, okay?
Yep. Okay.
And then the other thing that helps a procrastinator like me is I'll look at this and I'll say, oh no, like I went too far with it. Let me peel that back. This is the great thing about multiply, obviously. But I'll also be able to say, well, that color isn't very good. So I'm going to go up to hue, saturation, and brightness. And I think that this might be one of the commands I use more than anything.
Really? Okay.
And the reason is these fantastic sliders down here. And if you look at the left slider, the hue,
Yeah.
this thing saves more drawings.
Really?
Yeah, because I can now, color becomes like instantly responsive to what you want to do.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There's no more mistakes in watercolor. Sometimes you're just out of luck, right?
Yeah.
But here, this is really, I can't tell you how often.
See, already that drawing looks good. I would almost, if I would have the blue, I'd put blue on some of the windows and I would send that to a client.
Well, you're right. Yeah. But I'm gonna, earn my money's worth here with you. But
Yeah.
so now there's another brush that I really did.
That's a nice design, by the way, too. Did you do that house? Did you design that house?
Yeah. I was,
That's nice.
like you, I just do a lot of sketches real quick, and
I like it.
I'm going to go over here in the brush menu. This is another thing I just completely accidentally found. This Tarraleah brush here.
Okay.
24. Tap on this, and actually, first I'm going to use it in eraser mode. Believe it or not, up here in that blue thing. And you're following the screen, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, it's great. Perfect.
So here we go. Here's Tarraleah, and I'm going to in eraser mode, and I'm going to tap out. And now I'm going to adjust, how big it is. Well, looks like it might not have taken. Yeah, that happens a lot. That didn't quite take. So now it's taken. And you can see down here, it's all kind of skanky like this. And,
yes.
And I'm just going to take out where I really want the green to sing, in this tree, specifically this tree. And now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to find a green. I struggle with greens, but it'll be too bright probably at first, but let's try this green here. And you stop me at any time, okay? So now I'm going to go back to the brushes and I'm going to pop in this Tarraleah, and I'll show you off in this big white cloud, first of all, what this brush does, okay? And again, it's like totally uncontrolled, barely controllable random stuff, right?
Yeah.
But fantastic random, like, because it'll generate these little jaggy forms. I'm running my pencil around them, are often exactly what you want. Like back when I was doing watercolor, it was very difficult to make the random edges of a tree like that,
Yeah.
It took a real skill. It was like a 18th century watercolor skill that I didn't have, but I struggled with. So I'm gonna throw that in there, okay? And then let's play a little bit with the adjustment menu and just see if I can make that better. Maybe I'm in the blue by accident. See, I blew it again. I put the green in that, so I'll quickly take that out because it takes just 2 seconds. And I'm tapping down here on the
undo, right?
Yeah, the undo is great.
Yep.
And so I'll come back and I'll make a second layer, and I'll just quickly throw this in again. And there we go. Wasn't quite right. There we go. And I should also put it in multiply again. Down here up a little.
Very nice. That's nice.
Yeah, so I'll go back.
You can get a little darker near the edges, which is great.
Oh, yeah, and there's one really cool thing. Like here, I'm going to go into this brush, and I'm going to take some of that out again because it's always challenging when there's already pencil there. You know.
Yeah.
If this was just straight up watercolor, we'll do some of that later. But now one of the things that's cool about this is, I don't know if you discovered this yet, but if I tap, here's this layer, right?
Yeah.
If I tap and hold on the check mark, it'll isolate just that layer. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Right. And now there's a couple of things I can do with this too. One is, and I can't tell you how often this happens. And then by the way, I just held back down on it and it brought all the layers back. Okay.
Okay.
So that is a baller move. That's used a lot. I can also, I want to make sure I tap, all these for you. I can also take this layer that I'm here and I can duplicate it. And sometimes I'm going to go back to why you might do this. Like you can see how the color is not completely opaque.
Yep.
And one of the big things in Procreate when you're doing coloring is often you want the selection to be as opaque as possible. And the reason is when you pull it up later to fix it,
Yeah.
or to tweak it, it's just like in Photoshop. You don't want there to be like 20 areas of 20% opacity. And so one of the things that, again, I constantly use is I will duplicate a layer. And I'm going to go to the extreme here, but I'll duplicate it. Sometimes I'll duplicate it. I'll merge down here.
Yeah.
I'll merge down again. And sometimes I'll once it's merged, right, I'll merge it again, and now
That's interesting. So you don't change the opacity too much. You're just sort of superimposing the color on itself.
When I first started, I was doing a lot of opacity changing, and then I realized it was getting me in trouble. So what I'll do instead is I'll come over to instead of opacity, I'll use the multiply that we talked about.
Yep.
But I'll come and I'll adjust a thing later.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because the most important thing is that opacity, right? And there's just
that's great.
But it has mostly to do with protecting yourself downstream. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to go away, so it's a good thing. And another cool thing is once it's tension up now, I'll show you this too. This is a great trick. So here it is. It probably is opaque right now, but it's just got different colors within that opacity. Another big trick I'll use is I will, it won't be pretty, but I'll show you the technique. I'll select this layer now, okay? I have it in automatic, but now it's in freehand, okay? So all of this is selected. And you can see where the partially, I wish my finger would show up, but where you see some of the diagonal bars in the lighter colors of the green.
Sure. Yep.
That's showing us obviously it's not totally selected, right?
Yep.
But now I'll come in and I'll add a layer, and then I'll switch to the airbrush, right? The soft brush number 6. And I'll go back, and so here's my setup now. I've got this layer that's got my subject, but I'm going to start what I would call like a modification layer, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a thing that watercolorists do a lot. I'm going to pick, say, like this kind of gray violet, okay? And I'm going to make that, now you can see it in the little dot at the top right. I've got my airbrush selected, and I'm going to come in and basically I'm going to shade now, and remember, I'm in a layer above the original, so
Uh-huh.
everything's safe. I'm actually going to take that layer and put in multiply. And then I'm going to come over and select a good sizable large airbrush. And I'm going to just come in and wash from the bottom up. You see how it's turning darker?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Extreme for a moment and make it really dark. Okay. And then let's say like trees, they often have these big missing clumps in them, right?
Yeah.
I'll come up just to make a point to this second area here, right?
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, and if I switch over to, I can even sometimes I'll add a third layer, and I'll switch over to the yellow, so that where the sun is really hitting the top leaves. And now I'm going to work down from the top left, and you can see how this color comes in. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Right. And it's ugly, but it's making the point, in real time here with you. So now I'll tap out of that. I'll go back to the layers menu, and we'll see our whole composition.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you got the idea, right?
Yeah. So basically you isolated a few of those layers basically so that you could work on them independently.
Yes. Yeah. Because I always want to keep, I've learned this the hard way. When you're working fast, you want to be able to compete. Because here's an example. I'll turn off these modified layers that I did. But, let's say that you just want to go a totally different emotional direction, right? And now I'm on that layer. I can go back into hue and saturation, and I can just say, no, that tree, let's make it fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a really nice, nice thing to just make sure you always have, I guess what I would call downstream flexibility. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move a little faster, and let's say Robert A.M. Stern did this house in the 80s, so it's going to be yellow.
Yeah.
Now I'll go back to the flat brush, and let's quickly put in some color on this house, okay? And let's say that this wall here is going to be in sun, so it'll be the brightest, all right? And I'm just going to go off to this shaded wall that's.
So I'm sorry, James, what brush are you using for that?
Okay, I went back to the flat brush for this.
Flat brush, okay.
And I'm really using it like a magic marker, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna, just in principle, I'm gonna add color to the walls that are facing to the left, okay?
Yeah.
And even the jams, you see me hitting this jam?
Yep,
right?
sure.
And then down over here on the far right, I'm gonna hit these jams. And again, the miracle of Procreate is I'm going to go back into the adjustment menu, and I'm like, well, that's not right. So let me knock the saturation down a little bit, make it a little darker, and now I have a nice, postmodern ochre going on, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll get about there. And again, I did a stupid move, and I can't tell you how important it is to keep adding layers, but I blew it, and I put it on that sky layer, whatever that is. Okay, so now I'm in trouble. Although to be honest, here's another useful trick, right? I'm back in this layer. I realize I've made a mistake. I've got both the tree and the ochre wall.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to the selection method. Okay, power move number 2. And I'm going to go to the rectangle selection. Now, have you played with these before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
So I'm just going to, because there's no part of this orange tree is over here, I'm just going to select this whole thing. In fact, I'll select everything I've done so far in this ochre tone. I'll do the 3-finger swipe, which is tricky to do. I'll do a cut and paste here, okay? And now that's on its own layer. And you've played with that before, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How were you able to, to isolate that color from,
Well, there's a couple of ways, but what I did, I'll go backwards. Okay, so this is interesting. Watch the layers menu. So you see this is the one
Yep.
where I just isolated. So now watch it, and it'll jump back there, and then it'll jump back to my rectangular selection. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And my rectangular selection.
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah.
Excluded the part,
Yep.
right? And then if we go back to the layers menu, now you'll see the next move. There it is back on, right?
Yep.
And so I'll go back up to where I was. And then the last thing I did was
That's a great trick. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about just like keeping yourself safe, like at every step.
Yeah.
So let's say I got there, and now I'm going to tap on the brush icon because I want to come over here to this little guy. I don't know if you can see the color selection tool that I'm tapping on all the way on the left.
I don't see that. Color selection, no.
You know these sliders here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so below that slider, below this slider, you see that little rectangle here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I messed around with that yesterday. It's like an eyedropper tool.
Exactly, right. So I'm gonna eyedrop this yellow color, right?
Yep.
Because I want a lighter version of that. I'm going to go back up to the layers menu. How am I doing, by the way? Am I shouting, or can you hear me?
No, it's great, James. Awesome.
All right,
perfect.
So I started a new layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my flat brush, and now I'm going to go to my color palette. Right? Oops. If you hold it down, it goes to the previous color you used. But I'm going to tap on the color palette, and I'm going to go to. I don't know if you played with these before, but there's all these different ways to find the colors that you want. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I messed around with a lot of this stuff.
Right. So I'm going to go to a very pale yellow now.
Okay.
Robert Stern. And I'll come back into make sure I'm in the right layer. And I'll just quickly throw this pale color on the rest. We're using the flat brush.
Yep.
And I'm going to get a good size, and I'm going to quickly throw this pale color on the remainder of this facade, just to give it some color. And again, this is really very similar to markers because it's not precise.
Yep.
And the darker the color is, the more. In fact, what I'm going to do here, Mike, is you see this number 10 brush, the Nico.
Yeah. Yep.
So that is a really interesting brush. Up here in the cloud, I'm gonna make some marks with that. I'm gonna make sure that I'm on it. Nope. Okay, there we go. So in the cloud, I'm gonna show you the texture that this.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
It's easy, right?
That's awesome, man. Wow.
Right, so I'm gonna just sort of slosh this on this area. In fact, I'm going to go right over the windows to make the point. Maybe not. I was going to show you how you can easily erase it and get the shapes you need, but I'll go down small. Quickly hit these guys, and quickly hit this guy. Make it a little bigger, and you'll get really good at all this, especially you. Again, back save the day. Always use these things to save you, and go to the blending mode.
Yeah, I was just gonna. Yeah, that is really nice. Beautiful.
Figure out what works best. And
yeah, multiply is like the go-to one in Photoshop.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So now I'm making this a little brighter, but also I'm going to tone it down a little bit. So they let me build it on Long Island Sound. Otherwise, I'll get kicked out of the planning board meeting, right?
Did this get built? This is a nice house.
No, it didn't.
Really nice.
Well, thank you. I've got a lot in the portfolio that someday I want to build.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing. So let's see. All right. So just to make the point, I'll quickly throw in some a little bit of color on these windows. I'll go back to the flat brush, and I know ahead of time I'm going to be in multiply. I guess I realize that now, given that it was an existing drawing. I'm going to throw the slightest blue wash on these windows here. I'm going to hold this one back and make sure that window's the jam of that thing that's there. This was an idea for a house that had an outdoor kitchen that would just.
I know, I love that with you have like this hinged door there. That's awesome. That's like do you know that guy? Who's that architect that does it a lot? Oh my God. He used to work for Stephen Hall. I forget his name, but he does a lot of stuff like that.
Okay.
You probably know him.
I don't know. I mean, I know Stephen Hall's practice, but
yeah, I forget his name. Oh God, I'll send it to you when I did. He did a lot of these like rotating door, huge windows that sort of open up like that.
Yeah, is he in New York or California?
No, he's out. Yeah, I think near California, more out, or no, I think Colorado. Okay. Forget his name.
Is it Tom Kundig or something like that?
Yeah, Tom Kundig. That's it. Yeah, he does a lot of that stuff.
My girlfriend just shouted that in from the kitchen, so she's helping us out here.
I got it. I wish my wife knew a little bit about architecture. It would be great.
Yeah.
She's just brutally honest. She tells me whether it looks good or bad.
Okay.
Yeah. She's
I'm over here. What I'm about to do, I'm just going to throw, again, I'm in the flat brush, and I'm going to throw some juicy color on this jam, this inside of this jam over on the left, okay? And maybe just a few places where I want to darken it up, the underside of some of these. I just want to give the impression of a plaster wall that's, or drive it as the case may be, right?
Yeah, drive it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back to multiply and we'll see that, right? So now, again, a lot of this for me is just finding the motivation to, get started on these things. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to go back. These palette choices are really interesting, Mike. You want to practice on these. So
okay.
You can literally. There's a really interesting feature up here at the top of the palette. I'm going to tap on this plus sign here. And you're going to see the options. And there's this amazing thing where you can create a palette from some image that you already like, or from a photo that you have.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you quickly this new from file. And I'll just find some, I may have to go back. I'm going to go back to new from photos, okay? And I can come in here and find some dramatic thing. Okay, here's a very expressive, these dog pictures here of our friend's dog. And now this palette at the top is literally it's hard. Let's see, I'll indicate the one I'm looking at from here. That palette is a function of all that photo. So this is a minor point, but I wanted to.
Yeah, I watch a lot of your videos, and I had seen you do that in one of your tutorials.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know how you find the time to do all that stuff, James. Well, it's unbelievable to me. I look at all those videos. I'm like, it boggles my eyes. How do you have the patience and the time to do it? Is beyond me.
You know what it was? It was my daughter. Years ago, my daughter we were on a vacation, and she's like, "Dad, you've already got the hardest thing. You've got the content. And look at this thing Procreate. It's like you can automatically do your videos. So you need to start a YouTube channel." And I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. It is pretty. I mean, you got a lot of great, and they're very very nicely done.
you know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Clear, easy to understand. It's, you know, they're great.
I like communicating. I don't know. Look, here's the next thing we're gonna do, okay? You're being too nice. Layer 10 is gonna be my background green trees, because we gotta get this thing kicked out. So I'm gonna go back to the flat brush, okay? And I'm just gonna throw a quick coat on these trees back here. And that's, you know, a lot of this is color theory that you just learned from watercolor.
Yeah.
I used to just stare at books of watercolor artists when I first wanted to go in that direction. And that's really where you learn color from, you know, other artists.
Yeah.
Right.
James, quick question in terms of color between like light and dark and where it happens in the image. Is it, you know, usually foreground is dark or back, you know, I've heard both ways, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
like you just added a dark color to the back, right? Let's say it's pretty opaque. Yeah. And that you could see how that's really popping the lighter color on that facade, which I think works well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could go even darker.
Yeah. See, there you go. Yeah. So is it more of an intuitive thing? Like you put it on and say, yeah, it kind of, you know, it's,
yeah.
You know, because.
Well, I mean, this in this case, the same way that you kind of.
See, I think when you adjusted that and made it darker, it's better. There's more snap to the image now.
Absolutely. Right. It's just a thing, Mike, that you know, think of something that you have like real good experience with. If you just start observing nature, you see like when you're in New Hampshire, you know, Vermont skiing, you just like, these things are almost black sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you can use that to your advantage by.
Yeah, I mean that really popped out the house big time when you did that.
Yeah, exactly. And then another great strategy. No, this is all like all those coffee table books in your house that, you know, like me, you didn't.
Oh God, I have thousands of books. Forget it.
They're all this huge resource now that you can start, you know, referring to. So I'm going to pick this down here about halfway down. I'm going to pick this. You see this dot I'm highlighting here?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to pick this now, and I've got a new layer. I'm going to multiply it again and go to my flat brush, and this is going to be the wood. These wonderful little wood trellises. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Again, that's a flat brush, right?
Yeah, the flat brush. So it really is the closest. I never used magic markers as a renderer.
Me either. Yeah, I've seen a lot of nice renderings out of marker, but never did it.
Yeah, I mean,
I always thought it was a cheap way of doing it.
That's what I thought too. Exactly.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
But I mean that again, like that little gesture that you just made, it really gives snap to the drawing. Yeah.
And a part of it, and so, you know, it's not the perfect color yet again, but I've got this incredible, you know, this wonderful resource called Procreate, and I'm going to be able to come in here. So I'll keep making these mullions, and even though I might in real life have wanted them to be aluminum, but who knows? And then I'm going to go way down on the brush. And one of the great things about the flat brush is it can go down to this needle size.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Now we're going to put the beautiful cedar in here. And
are you using any drawing assist in this, or you're just freehanding this, right?
Oh, that's a really good question. If you look up in the cloud now, Mike, a lot of what I'm doing, like a lot of it can just be freehand, right? Like like that. But then for those last few strokes I made in this trellis here, I drew and then I held.
Oh, I see. So, yep. That's another great trick I learned.
Yeah, this is incredible. And let's take a minute there, because like, you know, you can do any kind of right? But then recently, even more amazing is I found out that you can do curves that end up perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you got
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like I said, for a person like myself, I've done everything by hand for the past 20 years, right. And to get this, it really already has helped my workflow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good. So I'm gonna finish this part up, because what you'll find when you start, you know, looking at different renders and things is that these warm colors now, they really have a wonderful way, especially if they're played off against cool. And so I'm going to go up in the adjustments now and just see if, you know, is that really the color I want? And I can, like, I'll just go extreme in a couple of ways, right? And I want to get it closer to, I want it to look like a nice pine, right? So I'll go right about there. And maybe, you know, do I want to make it that bright? No, I want to go about here. And there you go. There you got your wood, right?
Yeah, looks great.
Right?
Really
So
nice.
let's say now, you know Long Island Sound better than I do, I suppose. Or maybe this is Wyoming. I don't know. I'm looking at that mountain out in the distance. Let's hit that mountain. Did you watch Bob Ross as a kid? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I mean, you did, and I did sometimes, and I, you know, again, you're always amazed at you know, the guy. He would just, you know, so fluidly do things.
Well, I mean, talk about tacky, right? I mean, it was just awful, right? But again, so I've got, if you look at that mountain out there now, I just did on layer 12. You know, who knows if that's going to be the right decision, but, you know, Procreate to the rescue. Later on, I'm going to be say, well, what would that look like out there? You know, would it would it be more, you know, oh, well, that's better, you know?
Yeah, I was just going to say probably a green.
Yeah, the fall colors have changed completely, right? So it just works better. I'll clean up this little edge that went too far. Get rid of that. And then I'll make, now see, I'm starting to be on a roll. I'm remembering to make layers. Now, what does the lake look like in Vermont in whatever this is, fall, you know? And very often I'll start with a color that's, you know, like a kid with crayons. It won't be right, but, you know, you don't know any better. So I'll throw that in. But that's what's so great about, you know, again, back to the adjustments, and I can figure out what would look good. Is it too bright? Looks like Italy right now.
It's pretty awesome.
Maybe about there, right? You know? And then, oh yeah, I forgot. I should have been in multiply, right? And I can come back. And if it's, well, I can see now that, so I can't remember what color I used, but now I'll use this. Remember this thing over here, the little square in between the scissors. And I can, now that I've adjusted that color, I can pick it up again, and I can fill in where I left off, and because there needs to be more water there to be more effective, right? And then I can also, by backing off on the pen a little bit, you can see inside the house now.
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to ask you next. That's great.
I'm adding a little water.
Awesome.
Right?
So you just use the same color and you just go over that, you know, window wash, basically.
Yeah, because if I'll go down here on this terrace, and now I'm pressing as hard as I need to get opaque.
Yeah.
But now I'm just holding back on the pencil. And so I guess it really is more like watercolor in that case, right? And you can see, you know, you can keep building up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, you'll have a ball. I can tell you're going to be good at this.
I mean, I got to tell you, if you juxtapose this image to the black and white, it's amazing how you've brought this to life. It's even though I love black and white drawings, they're some of my favorite drawings, but this is, you know, the color is very important. Really, really nice.
Well, am I going too far? Are you getting the point and we should try something else, or do you want me to keep it on?
No, I would keep going. Like I said, I James, again, I'll probably be signing up for more, you know, because I think this is, you know, I think for me, and I kept thinking about this the past week, is like, what would be the best way to do this? And I think it's, you know, I don't, you know, the drawing stuff I kind of can get down. I think for me, it's really about color. I've never really learned the right way to apply color to render, because I could draw anything at this point, but I would always screw up the coloring aspect of it.
Okay. Well, I've got an idea that we can. Well, by the way, check out on the leg now, Mike. I'm gonna add a little white. I'm using like this really sharp, you know, technical pen.
Okay.
Which the technical pen can go, you know, up and down pretty good size, right? But I'm using it pretty small.
Yep.
I don't know if the stroke I just made is too small, but I'm going to pick some red right now, and I'm going to put a 26-foot Lyman Lake Cruiser out there on
Nice.
the right now, and there's somebody water skiing, no doubt. And
That's great.
see that little dot out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really
so,
great.
And you were talking, and I was so you know, impressed that you were talking about emotions before. No, because it's seriously, it's so important. By the way, I was going to do grass, but let's do pine needles, and then we'll turn it to grass if we need to, right?
I was even thinking a little sand,
Sand,
if you can,
yeah, no,
if
sand.
it's possible.
Yeah, and again, these are colors you'll be able to relate to this, but I don't always get the color right. I'm going to pick this thing about halfway down. You see that color? And
Yeah.
that's a good sand color, and if it's not, you know, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the flat brush. I want to go. Ooh, yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, that's gonna look really good.
So let's go. I'm gonna go in here, multiply, and I'm gonna come up. See, I should be paying you, Mike.
Yeah, right.
We got our sand. What
That looks sharp.
What should I make the terrace? What color should the terrace be?
I would do like a gray, like a, you know, like a gray patio, or I don't know, maybe a more like a red brick. Try light brick or something.
By the way, let's look at this. The reason I'm showing you this is because you see how this. Let me see. I'll do a separate commentary layer. This might be a good thing. I'll go to red. Oh, this is cool. I didn't think of this before. But you can see, if it's showing well enough, you can see like there's variation in there.
Yeah.
Just exactly like original markers, right? And the thing is, you want to use, so here's a good example again, when you're playing around with this. I'm going to save that layer, but I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to make another layer above it. And I'm going to do the same thing again. If I tap and hold the red dot at the top, it'll go back to the previously used color.
Okay.
So I'm going to come down to that Nicky roll brush.
Yeah.
And let's do the same thing. And you can see how you can get.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I'm getting a little character.
Yeah.
That you really like, you know, what is it? Is it pastel? Is it
right
watercolor? To be honest, it's been frustrating for me that I can't create, there's no substitute for watercolor, it turns out, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, even the so-called watercolor brushes that you see people are sometimes sell in Procreate or
oh, yeah.
Procreate themselves have things that they call watercolor brushes, but you just can't, you cannot substitute, you know, water for electronics, unfortunately. So here's another trick, Mike. So I've got layer 15, you can tell I've got turned off, right? You can see that square there. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So layer 17 is the one we just did, right?
Yep.
But this is when you're looking for interesting effects. Another thing you can do is add colors. Like, because that texture we did, I can go back to an opaque brush now, the flat brush, and I'm on the layer under the sand layer that we just did, right? So I can come in here with that. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, because I have it on multiply. Let me unmultiply it. I'll make it normal. And then again, on the layer underneath it, I'll apply this red color that you see up at the top right. And you'll see how cool it is the way that shows.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the Nikki roll brush, right?
Yeah. Well, this wow. Is underneath the Nikki roll brush.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, the Nikki roll brush left so many little openings, right?
Wow.
And then I could go in there and say, well, what would be the coolest effect, right? Like, should it be like green, you know, like, and just really interesting, right?
That's great, yeah.
And I don't even know. And another thing I love about this is that sometimes you do things that you didn't have any intention of doing, you know? So you remember we had that problem when if you go back to layer 17,
yeah.
If I had it on multiply, I lost the effect of the sand, right?
Hold on one second, Chance. Can you hear my kids screaming in the background?
Yeah, I don't mind them, but if you have to attend to them.
Hey, hi. Oh, sorry. My 1-year-old is trying to get in here.
Okay, well, let me know if you have to deal with it. Right?
No, that's good. No, he's good.
So we're hitting a lot of interesting things here. So going back on layer 17, right? Well, layer 17 was the sand. And the reason it looks green right now is because we went to multiply, right? So we go back to normal, okay? So where I'm going with this is, let's say that you really love this idea of layer 18 poking through the textural gaps in layer 17, right? So here's the power of, again, like Photoshop and selection. I can select layer 17 over in this menu, and you play with these menus, right? Yep. Okay, so I can select that. I can go back to layer 18, and you know where I'm going with this. I can now, I'm going to tap on the selection button and bring it, so I can bring up these choices. I'm going to invert the selection. I'm going to go back to layer 18, make sure it's on 18 and not 17. And I am going to do the 3-finger swipe and cut. And now I've got the best of both worlds, I think.
Oh, wow.
I've got, I'm still not going to be able to go to multiply. But yeah, tell you the truth, I'm not really sure why I just did that. You know what I was really trying to do is I wanted to get back to this and multiply, okay? To
the hand, I mean the black.
Yeah, I wanted the sand and the drawing, the underlying drawing, to be there at the same time. Okay?
Yeah, there you go.
What I was going to do is, you know, I saw this recently, Mike, in the Procreate update of 5.0 or 5.2.
Yeah.
There's this new feature, you've probably seen it, where if I go up to the this menu, I forget what it is, the adjustments menu. And when I go to any of these functions now, it gives you the option of either the layer or the pencil, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't stumble across that yet.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I saw it for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I thought, well, I'll never use that. What's the point, right? But this is really interesting what the point is. So in the old days, I would, change the whole layer, right, at one time. And that had its uses, right? Actually, that's not bad, is it? A little earthier.
Yeah.
But, well, I'm going to go back to the sand, though, because I want to make a point. If you choose the other one, if you choose the pencil option, then you can, just like normal, you can figure out which of the so-called pencils you want to adjust. And now, down here in these menus, I can change the hue. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to make the sand in this area have this, is going to be in shade, okay? So notice on my hue button, I've gone to like a purplish hue, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm using the soft brush. So I'm going to go back in here, tap on pencil, move the hue over, and then watch what I do over on the right side, okay? So what's important about this is that I'm now directly influencing only that layer. If I get the color wrong, it doesn't matter, because now I can slide that around.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, how cool is that?
Oh my gosh.
So whatever I just did to the layer, I am now able to control. And in the old days, the only way I could do that was by selecting the layer. And I mean, I may be going too deep here, but in the old days, I could still accomplish the same thing if I came over to the layers menu and selected it. But a lot of times these diagonal lines are kind of annoying, and you can't see the context of what you're doing.
Right.
So that's what's so great about this option instead.
Yeah, I'm gonna play around with that. That's I didn't, you know, again, I just got this like 2 weeks ago, and I'm bombarding myself with all these these tools.
So I'm back in that now. Notice I did this once, and when I did it, I was able to go and play even after I made a mistake in terms of what kind of hue I applied to this area. I was still able to fix it with these sliders, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm going to go. Haven't done anything yet, and each time I tap out of this, the former changes are locked in, which is amazing. So now I'm back in this layer, and now I'm going to go to the brightness, right? And I'm going to put in a highlight where the beach. If you look over to the right side, I'm going to make this part of the beach brighter in the sunlight. Okay. And you
Ridiculous.
can see,
Beautiful.
right?
Yeah.
You can see that. So again, that's not exactly what I would want to do, but I'll make it a little lighter. And let's go back here. And so anyway, it just turns out that's a really powerful technique. All right, I'm going to go up. I've got layer 16 I've made already. Let's finish this part by, let's make a nice gray. I'm going to choose this one. And let's come in with a flat brush again. And we're going to finish off this terrace, okay?
Perfect.
So, and then also the slab as it goes into the kitchen. And then I forgot about that. I got a little pool over there. So we'll do this. And again, I'm varying my weights here, so you can see sometimes it's opaque and sometimes it's okay. And I'll go, it's not the greatest. I'll go back into these areas and I'll adjust it a little bit. Maybe that's gray, so there won't be any color in it. And finally I'll do the multiply. And then the last thing is I'll come in and what's a good color for a pool?
How about like a bluish green?
Yeah. The pool colors are, I know I'm close to the end of when I got, the pool color is going in. It's very exciting. Yeah, look how awesome, right? And it, I don't always get, like greens are sometimes hard to get.
Yeah.
Let's give it a nice infinity edge so it runs off right.
Yeah.
And I'll go up here and I'll figure out what's exactly right, and maybe that's better. Brighten it up a little. Okay, and then the last thing, there's probably more to do, but the last thing I'd like to do sometimes is get a brighter color, maybe like this orange here down at the bottom. And I'll go in, I'll make a separate layer And I'll just sort of put random touches of color in the interior. I'll make a dark touch so you can see where I am at first.
Yep.
And I'm going to go back. I keep forgetting to multiply. But let's say that there's some cool touch that, you know, the cabinet doors or this nice, you know, I don't know what you call that. I'll make it a little brighter. But it's like a, you know, an architect-y nice move there. And then I'll come over here and we'll do the same thing. We'll make a, or inside, let's make a blue brush or a blue carpet over here.
Very nice. How about a little fire in there, James?
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah, I'm going to set the fire up with a nice gray, unless you want bricks. Oh shit, bricks, what am I talking about? That would be perfect. Pardon my language. Let's make it, I wouldn't necessarily use bricks, but let's use some nice custom Dutch bricks over here.
Very nice.
Right? And then, now fire is like, I've been doing fire for years, and it's sometimes a little tricky to figure out, but I'll show you a great trick. So I'm gonna use the middle part of the flames, and I'm gonna go to this very liquid, what's called the script brush that you see up here, and tap out, and I'm gonna go in and at full opacity, let's see, no, this is gonna be on its own layer because it deserves that. Here we go. At full opacity, I'm gonna come here, and I'll show a few flames licking up into the sky. I got my embers. Now I'm gonna go with a red. Throw some red in. And some red coals. And now I'm going to go in with some white. Are you good at making fire?
Pretty awesome, man.
Right. And then let's go in, and because we've got dark logs, here they are. And then we'll show how the logs are just amongst the. Okay, and then if we wanted to get really crazy, given the time of year, we could hang a stocking for your son or daughter, you know.
Pretty awesome.
Right? And then I'll go back to the technical pencil at its absolute smallest, and I'll add some details to the socks. Okay. You get the idea.
I mean, it's beautiful. You got a talent, man.
Hey, Mike, it sounds like you have the talent, and I'm just going to help you unlock it too, because the thing is, it's so forgiving, right? It is so forgiving, and I have learned more. I said in one of my videos, I've learned more about color from using Procreate than I did. By the way, what I'm doing now,
I know. I heard you in one of your videos. I heard you say that, which was interesting.
I'm gonna exaggerate for a second, just so you know where I am in the drawing here. Okay, but I'm gonna throw in just some suggestion of like what might be happening with light in here. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll just go over the edges at first because I won't care. I'll come back with the eraser, right? Same thing. Make it small. I'll pick up where I over. Okay. And clear that up. And I'll go back to the brush, and I'll just throw in. And this is where, you know, you'll see that it really is funny how these things turn out to be much more random than you would think if you studied art history. You know, it's like a lot of this, the effect of that successfully suggests an interior is just up to like random suggestions of color here and there, right?
Very interesting.
And I'm gonna use the flat brush now to erase out these nice original lights here. And I'll make sure that this person is still in the sun. And right, and then also famously, it helps to have, again, a few kind of like random bright colors in here, maybe things on the shelves, right?
Take note of that, definitely.
Right, and then maybe the furniture in here in the living room is red too, and the coffee table is going to be a nice wood color. There's that. Okay, so
Beautiful.
right.
So James, the next one I sign up for, I would definitely do an interior. My whole career has been all exterior stuff, so
Okay.
that's why I figured, you know, I could ease my way in with an exterior view, and then the interiors would be great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you happy with what we've done so far?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's
Okay.
you know, much more beyond my expectations. It's awesome.
Oh my God. Well, listen, Mike. So I'm gonna send you the video, the tape recording of this. Okay.
That would be great, James.
And what I'll do is I'll send you this actual Procreate file so you can see the layers and kind of.
Oh,
You know,
that would be awesome.
your iPad, right?
Okay.